Alrighty, so the next movement that we're gonna go over is our back squat. So first we're gonna show you how to actually set up the squat rack itself. So Ray, I'm gonna go ahead and have you face the squat rack. The first thing that we wanna do is make sure that the J hooks are at a proper height. So what we wanna do is, since the bar is gonna be on his upper back, we wanna lower it a little bit lower than that so we can get into a nice safe position for him to be able to rack and unrack. So usually I'll go about shoulder height. You can even go a little bit lower if you feel comfortable, but we're gonna go ahead and move these J hooks up a couple of spots to be able to get it into that spot. So if you wanna move that guy up 2 spots.
On the floor?
Perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and check if that is pretty close to his shoulder height. Looks like that could be a good height. There is some variation here, so really it's what you're comfortable with. Play around with it a little bit, and if you're on the same squat rack all the time, it's really helpful to actually write down which hole that you're on. I even actually have my holes numbered, so if you have one at home, you can do that too. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and put the bar on here next to make sure that it is the right height. So Ray, if you wanna go ahead and grab that bar, we're gonna pop the bar onto each side. And again, this does look like it's a pretty good height. It might even be a teeny bit low, but we're gonna go ahead and leave it there for today. So what we're gonna do is actually have Ray go underneath the bar as if he was gonna go into his back squat. Now, there are a lot of different bar placements that you can play with. Today, we're gonna go ahead and do the high bar back squat, which means that it's gonna kind of be on these squishy parts of his trap. Go ahead and go a little bit lower, right in there. There are pads for this, so if you're at all uncomfortable, that's a really good option. Or you can even wear like a sweatshirt or something like that to make it a little bit softer, especially once you start going heavy. But for now, this looks really good. So the biggest thing that I want Ray to do when he's setting up is actually step underneath it a little bit further. You're gonna bend your knees. You want it to already feel like you're doing a squat. Let's go ahead and spread your feet out just a little bit further. Now, the reason this is important is as we are taking the bar off of the squat rack, we wanna make sure that we are already in a really strong position, right? So what he's gonna do is lower himself under like he's about to do a squat. We're gonna brace, so go ahead and push out into my hands. Yep, try not to tuck those hips though. So hips back a little bit further, but just push into the Yep, perfect. So now we're creating this nice big brace so that his core is engaged as we stand up. The only thing that you're gonna do is just stand straight up. Beautiful, okay? So core is engaged, she's standing straight up. We're gonna take 1 step back on each side. The limited amount of steps, the better, because then we're not wasting a bunch of extra energy. So now that we've got him in place, we would normally find a normal stance, we would do a couple squats, and then we would re-rack it at the end. We're gonna fast forward a little bit to the re-racking portion to make sure that we get over the safety, and then we'll go a little bit more into the actual squat and some of the form. So what I'm gonna have him do for the re-rack is he's gonna walk straight forward until he hits the bar right on that squat rack, and then we're gonna lower it straight down until he feels those J hooks. Beautiful. Once the bar is down, then you can swoop yourself back up, and that's the unrack position. Now, the main reason that we're doing that, and I'll have you do it again with this next time, is a lot of people look at the bar as they're placing it, and then they end up missing the rack on one side because they're looking at the other side. So we're gonna go ahead and hop under the bar one more time just to show you what that re-rack would look like if you accidentally did it that way. So step underneath, bend your knees, bend your hips straight up. Take 1 big step back, boom, boom. We'd grab our stance to our squat, walk straight forward, but I want you to look down as if you're trying to look at each side of the bar. Go ahead and actually look at one side of the bar and then try to place this side. And you'll notice that sometimes, right, that side's not gonna be on the rack. We might even miss the whole J hook on that side. Go ahead and just place it back in. So it's really important that we just walk it straight forward, hit the rack, and then pop it straight down. So that's something that I wanted to show you guys first to make sure that we're putting the bar in the right spot. So now we're gonna go over the actual form of the squat. We're gonna use a PVC pipe for this one so you guys can see him from the side. So go ahead and put that on your back like it's the back rack. Beautiful. Now in this position, we're gonna go ahead and hold it on his back. And again, putting it against that squishy part of his traps. We really want to engage his lats. So go ahead and actually turn to the back, please. So what we're doing is we're trying to, instead of having these elbows loose and flared, we're trying to almost pull the bar down. I love this analogy, bend the bar. So in this PVC pipe, you can actually even see this. If you were to pull both pinkies down, do you see how that bar is starting to bow a little bit? That's what we're looking for. Now, obviously with the hard bar, you're probably not gonna see that, but we still want that tension to make sure that your lats are fully engaged. So we're pulling the bar down, we're engaging through those lats. Can you feel that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So we're engaging through those lats to make sure that they are engaged. Go ahead and face sideways again. And then the next piece is, of course, making sure that our core is tight. Now we go a little bit more in depth into bracing and the core itself in Building University, but today we're just gonna do a super quick version. What I typically do with my clients is I'll put my hands on like their rib cage, lower belly, and have them push out. So go ahead and push against my hand. So it's like creating a balloon, right? Now, are you breathing?
No.
No, that's usually what happens. That's totally fine, right? So it's very, very normal for people to, when they're first starting to do this, pushing their tummy out, to just stop breathing. There are a couple breathing techniques that you can use for lifting. One is called the Valsalva maneuver, where you actually try to hold your breath the whole time, but most of the time it's really hard to do. You can't get a ton of reps in. So typically what I'll have people do is create that nice big breath. Beautiful. We've got his big brace. We're going to go ahead and go down toward the end of the squat. Don't worry too much about the form. And I'm going to show them on the way back up. As you come back up, you're going to exhale really sharply. So go ahead. Good. So again, big brace. Go down toward the bottom of the squat. Exhale to the top and okay. So that way we're using our breath to make sure that we're using a little bit more explosion throughout the whole body. So that's a really great start. So now let's go ahead and go over the bottom squat position. Go ahead and go to the bottom. Don't worry too much about your brace yet. So the first thing that I'm seeing here is see how his chest is really upright and his back is a teeny bit arched. We don't need to not be arched at all, but what we do want to do is keep a neutral back. And remember that same brace that we just did, right?
Yes.
Now push into my hand on the back side too. So did you see how that flattened his back out? Because we want 360 intra-abdominal pressure. That means we're pushing from the belly and we're pushing from the backs and even the sides, right? Go ahead and stand up. So one more time so you can see it while he's standing. Try to push only into your belly with that breath. And you can see that arch a little bit. Now push into the back. See how that kind of almost rounds out the back, but it gets it nice and flat, right? Beautiful. Come on up. So the next piece about the squat is that we also want to make sure that we're letting our knees travel forward, letting our hips go back. So my favorite way to explain this is that we want a shoulder, knee, toe stack. Now, some people admittedly may not have the mobility for this. For example, if your ankles aren't super mobile, if you can actually do a squat but kind of stick your butt back a little bit, your shins may not travel forward over the toes, and that's okay. We've got some modifications for that, so I'll show you how to do that. Go ahead and stand back up. But ideally, what we want to do is let those knees go forward. So let's do another squat to try to do a shoulder, knee, toe stack. Right? So we're leaning forward. That's totally fine. Depending on how tall you are, you might even have to lean forward more. Shoulders, knees, and toes are all stacked. Let's go neutral head. So go ahead and look down toward the ground just a little bit more. Right there. Perfect. So neutral neck as often as possible. That way we're just not straining the neck and having any issues with that bar. Go ahead and stand up. Perfect. Okay. So that's the general idea when we get down to the bottom of the squat. Any questions there?
No.
Okay, beautiful. So we're going to do a couple of reps with the PVC pipe itself and then what we just talked about with that. We're bending the bar, we're squeezing those lats, nice big brace through the core, letting chest over knee over toe, sticking that butt back to the back wall. Go ahead. Good. Remember neutral head, looking down toward the ground. Yep, beautiful. Good. A little bit faster to the top. Big exhale. Go ahead. And yes, nice. Now, one thing that's really important too is that he's pushing through the floor. Again, we talk about that rooting piece a little bit more in Building University, but if you can face forward for me, what we want to do is that we want to make sure that he's putting pressure not only into all of his toes, but also to the outside of his knees just a little bit. So I want you to do it on purpose wrong, where you're just driving your knees straight forward and we're not putting any tension to the sides. Go ahead and do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so see how his knees are coming straight forward. We do like that they're forward, but what I'm gonna have him do is push against my hand and press out a little bit. Now, if you notice, that causes a little bit bigger of an arch. Go ahead and stand up. In your foot, the tendency is for people to start like pulling their toes up or even crunching them a little bit. We still wanna keep them spread. We still wanna grab the ground with all 5 toes if possible, but what we're taking is that arch and pulling it up just a little bit so we've got tension through, kind of like torque pressure through the legs themselves. So go ahead and go back down. This time, let's try to press those knees out slightly. Okay. Beautiful, okay? So see how he's very tense here. We've got a lot of tension. I'm not able to move him around at all. Go ahead and stand up. Now again, just to show that contrast, I'm gonna have you go knees straight forward. Don't worry about putting any pressure into those pinky toes. Go ahead. Okay. And you'll notice that he's a little bit more flimsy. He doesn't quite have that same base. Now press those knees out, engage through the glutes. So much more solid, right? So that's what we're looking for. Go ahead and stand up. Perfect. I will take that. Okay, excellent. So now that we've got the basics of the squat, we're going to show Ray actually doing the squat with the bar. We'll go ahead and show it from the back side first. So he's actually facing the squat rack. That's one thing that a lot of people do too, is that they try to pull the bar out facing away from the squat rack, but you don't know where it is anymore, right? So it makes it a lot harder to be able to re-rack. So I always have my clients facing the bar itself. So now we're going to go ahead and have him underneath the bar. He's going to pull it up, take 2 steps back, grab that same stance that we just talked about. Awesome. So for the stance itself with the feet, that's up to you, whatever feels most comfortable. Usually it's about shoulder width, maybe a little bit wider. We're going to go ahead and go big brace down to the bottom of the squat. Knees out. Yep, there we go. And fast and down. Good. 2 more. Good. Neutral head, look down at the ground. Beautiful. Okay, now we're gonna do the exact same thing. Obviously you don't normally do this, but we're gonna face sideways. So go ahead and do the same thing facing sideways. Big brace just so you can really see his core engaging. Knees forward, butt back. Good, nice neutral head. Good job remembering that. And 1 more. Beautiful. Okay, awesome. Go ahead and re-rack. Straight forward, clean clang. And all right, so the next piece that we're gonna go over is some common mistakes that we see in the back squat. So the first one that I'm gonna have Ray do, go ahead and put that on your back again as if we were doing the back squat. Oftentimes people end up picking a stance that's actually a little bit too wide for them. So go ahead and spread your feet out just a little bit further. And because they're too wide and maybe their hips aren't quite mobile enough, or it even depends on what your hips are shaped like, ironically enough, what happens is as they squat, their knees tend to go valgus, which means that they roll into each other. So go ahead and go down to your squat, but the knees will roll in a little bit. I'm sure you guys have seen this before, right? So even if he pushed his knees out, they're not quite able to go all the way over his pinky toes. So go ahead and stand up. So that's how we know that the stance is a little too wide. So go ahead and put your feet a little bit closer together where it feels more comfy. And we'll go back into that squat so we can see how it lines better. Go ahead. And so now we're pressing out from the knees and you can see that tension over the pinky toe or at least over the mid part of the foot. And we're not having that same knee cave that we did before, right? So that's what we're really looking for. Go ahead and stand up. One of my favorite drills for this, I'll take that, is putting a circle band around your knees. Now, you can do this as a drill or you can literally do it every time you squat. That's typically what I do to make sure that I'm not doing anything crazy. So we're gonna grab this band, we're gonna put it right below your knees. I say right below because chances are, as you're squatting lower and lower, if you put it above your knees, it tends to kind of roll its way up your thighs, which is not super fun, especially for dudes that have hair. So we're gonna go down to the bottom of the squat. We're gonna press out against the band itself. Go ahead. Perfect. So you can see that now he's got lots of really great tension around that circle band. Go ahead and stand up. And we can tell the difference when he is using the band and is not using the band. So go ahead and do it, but don't put any pressure into that band so they can see the difference. Right? See how those knees are still knocking in just a teeny bit. Now press out. That is the tension that we're looking for. Pressing into those pinky toes. Go ahead and spread those toes down, but push them into the ground. Beautiful. And then we've got that shoulder knee toe stack that we were working on earlier. Go ahead and come on up. So this is a really great option if you have a circle band available. Like I said, I literally do it probably every time I squat, just to make sure I'm not doing anything funky. A lot of times too, if somebody has one side that's stronger than the other, they might lean to one side or they might feel one knee go in without the other one going in. This is a great way to be able to stop that. Let's go ahead and pop that off. Okay, so 2 more major mistakes that I see. We're gonna go ahead and face sideways for this. I'll give that back to you. So this next one is called butt wink. So what happens is that when somebody is going down to the bottom of their squat and maybe they don't have that ankle mobility like we talked about earlier. So do that same one that I told you about where you kind of drive your butt back instead of down. Go ahead. So because he doesn't have great ankle mobility, his knees are not coming forward over his toes anymore. And then what typically happens is the hips actually tuck underneath at the bottom. Go ahead and keep going until they roll. Yep, and then tuck your butt under. Yeah, That's what happens. That's why we call it butt wink, right? So go ahead and stand up. Let's put that all together so that as you go down, it rolls underneath. Go ahead. Tuck and roll the hip. So see how it drives underneath, and now the hips are facing this way instead of facing out toward the back wall. So go a little bit higher until your butt's facing the back wall like it should be. Okay, and chest up just a little bit. Perfect, cool. So that's where we want to be. So that typically happens because you don't have great ankle mobility. Go ahead and stand up. So the drill that we use to be able to fix this is that we put something underneath the heels. Now there are shoes that are actually designed for this too. They're like squat shoes for high heels, basically. But we're gonna go ahead and use a plate. You can use dumbbells, whatever you want. We're gonna put it underneath his heels. So now go ahead and put your heels right on that plate. And now when he does a squat, he doesn't have to worry as much about his knees going over his toes because this is giving him a little bit of assistance, so it doesn't have to go as far. So go ahead and just do a normal squat. He should be able to do it without a butt wink now. Go ahead. Good. So it changes our range of motion. It kind of shifts us up a little bit so you can get down to the bottom. Go ahead and come on up and not have that issue with the butt wink. One more. So this is a really great option for that. And come on up. Beautiful. Okay. And then the last one that we're going to go over, let's get rid of this guy. Now, when I first learned this, I was like, oh, it's called a what? So this is called a stripper squat. So this happens a lot of times when the bar ends up being a little too heavy. And again, we're doing a high bar squat. So go ahead and go down to the bottom of your squat. What happens is that some people will start to lean their chest too far forward, and then it really puts pressure on that top body and they don't have control over it anymore, right? So what they'll do is they'll start to lead their hips up first. Go ahead and do the stripper squat, right? So we want to avoid this at all costs. We want to keep the tension in the top body, make sure we're pulling down with those lats, make sure we're keeping that chest somewhat upright. I like to say reserve your top body. So instead of closing everything down, we're trying to keep it ever so slightly upright. So go ahead and do that again to where you might have dropped your chest a little bit too much so we can show them how to correct it. Go ahead. So you drop the chest a little bit too much, right? So what we need to do is get you back into that chest knee toe position. Big brace. Yep. And then you're going to go straight up from there. Everything collapses together. Go ahead. Good. So I like to call this the accordion effect. So your chest is going back, butt's going forward, knees are going back. Everything is folding in like an accordion. Go ahead and do that again. So even if you get off balance and you start to drop that chest, fix that first, get your stack, and then accordion right up to the top. Nice to that home base position where our core is engaged, our glutes are engaged, etc. So one of the really good, I'll take that, drills for this is going to be a box squat. Now this box is probably a little bit low for a lot of people, so feel free to use a bench or like a jump box or anything like that. We're going to go ahead and use a stool today because Ray is pretty flexible. So what we're going to do is put this right behind him. He's going to put his feet on either side. I like to do long ways so that your feet can kind of be in the corners. It's a little more comfy. And so now he's going to try and maintain his position while he does a nice little touch and go on the box. Go ahead. Good. Again. Okay, so see how even in this one, his knees are not traveling forward as much. We're actually getting a little of that butt wink. Can you try to put more pressure into your the ball of your feet and put your knees forward? Okay. There we go. You guys see that one? That was a good one. Go ahead, one more time like that. And this really helps you maintain that position. Another thing that you can do too, I usually use this for Romanian deadlifts, but we'll go ahead and use it here, is that we can practice keeping our back nice and flat by putting this PVC pipe on the back. So what I'll usually have them do is grab the top side with one hand and then go ahead and wrap around, grab the bottom side. It should be hitting his shoulders and his hips the whole time. So go ahead and do a squat. I'm gonna move this guy just so it's not in your way. Go do a squat, but try to keep that back nice and flat, stay in contact. So see how it gets us that nice straight line. Yeah, go ahead and come on up. Last one. Awesome, perfect. So that is some of the biggest mistakes that we typically see in back squats. So we will move on to another exercise next. Thanks so much for joining us today.